I want you to imagine that you woke up in the apocalypse just like Rick Grimes did, only this time, instead of finding Morgan, you find any character of your choice.
Bonk!
It can be Michonne, it can be Daryl, which I feel like a lot of you would choose. However, I'm going to be, today, telling you why you should or shouldn't choose Rick Grimes himself.
I found him.
Whenever Rick Grimes wakes up, he immediately runs to his house, not knowing how much time has passed, simply to see if his family is still alive, because he hopes his family is still alive. And even after he finds out that they're not at his house, he hits himself in the head to try to wake up from a dream or a nightmare. And even still, when he doesn't wake up, he still hopes to find his family somewhere on the road, which is eventually what he does.
They're alive. My wife and son. At least they were when they left.
Oh, Rick, you just wait until they're both dead. That was funnier in my head. It just sounds mean out loud. When the governor attacks the prison, Rick tries to talk down the governor, and he mentions that they are not too far gone. That instead of fighting each other, they can come back to a more civilized time, a more civilized world. And that, in my eyes, is Rick hoping that not only the governor, but the governor's army understands and agrees with him when he says that they're not too far gone. And not being too far gone in this world alone is hopeful. When Rick enters Alexandria for the first time, one of the first things he does is he notices there's hot water. And with the hot water, he immediately goes to the shower and shaves his face. I imagine that symbolically, that's him cleaning away his sins from all the time he spent on the road. And the shave is him becoming renewed, because now he's going back to being a police officer, and he wants to feel the part of being a new man. All this shows that Rick is a very hopeful person, and when it comes down to it, he won't take no for an answer. Instead, he's willing to do anything in his power to stop whatever is threatening him, his family, his friends, or his community. He will go out of his way to try and stop something bad from happening. And in the sense of hope, it brings about a certain aura, I guess, is what you would call it. It's like hopeful people breed hopeful people. That's why Carl is a very hopeful person and always talks about doing what's right, even so much so that it causes his death. It's tragic, I think. I don't know, I never really liked him as a character. But it's tragic. I wouldn't want my son to die. Then again, I wouldn't raise a bitch son. At the end of the first episode, Rick initially gives Morgan a radio, so that way the two can contact each other every day at dawn. And Rick proves that he will do that by every day at dawn. He does talk to Morgan over the radio, even though Morgan doesn't respond. Now, initially, Rick doesn't know why Morgan won't respond, but he still contacts him in hope that Morgan is still alive, and in hopes that Morgan can hear him even if he can't hear Morgan. Now, eventually he does give up, but that's when he assumes Morgan is dead, which I think is something that in this situation is very understandable. Rick, Michonne, and Carl wander into a town looking for guns, where they find one lone man who shoots at them. Eventually, Carl takes down the shooter, and Rick unmasks him and sees that it's Morgan. Even though Morgan had shot and tried to kill them, and even whenever he wakes up, he still tries to kill Rick, not knowing who he is, he still allows Morgan to move into the prison with the group if he chooses to. However, Morgan denies. Loyalty is a big part of The Walking Dead, let alone the apocalypse in general. If you are not loyal to your people, or your people are not loyal to you, whether it's a more Whether it's a small group like Rick had in the beginning, or a huge group like Rick had in the end. If you are not loyal, or they are not loyal, something bad will almost always happen. There's going to be fighting, there's going to be arguing, there's going to be killing in some cases. It's not a good idea. You want everyone to be loyal, and not loyal in a sense of like fear, but loyal in a sense of they trust you, they love you, they care for you. And Rick is incredibly loyal. He told Daryl even after they fought that they're brothers. He tried to divert everyone away from saving him on the bridge because he cared for them, because he was loyal to them. He was loyal to Lori even after she admitted that she slept with Shane. It's hard to show loyalty, though. In the first episode of the series, Rick passes by a legless walker crawling around in a field. Initially, he's freaked out by it, not knowing what it is, but towards the end of the episode, he kills it in a mercy, saying he's sorry for how the walker turned into a walker, feeling empathy for the person that it once was. When Lori confesses to Rick that she had slept with Rick, Rick doesn't get angry. In fact, Rick is completely understanding, knowing that Lori thought Rick was dead. When Rick kills Gracie's birth father, he walks into a room thinking he's looking into a gun room, only to find out that it's actually Gracie's room. He immediately feels an overwhelming amount of remorse, and he immediately feels regret for killing the father of Gracie and orphaning her. Empathy is a very important trait to have in any emergency situation, because without it, you will turn into someone that's like the governor or Negan or the Terminus leader. And the reason why is because all these people had some sort of traumatic event happen to them that caused them to lose their empathy, because they realized if they shut out the emotion, if they stop caring for people, it won't hurt, which is not healthy in any sense of the word. Now, I'm no psychological expert, I'm no therapist, I'm no counselor, but I know some mommy issues when I see them. You can't just shut out any emotion. It's impossible unless you are literally born a psychopath or made into a sociopath, which is what a lot of these people are. They are psychopaths and or sociopaths.
Rip and tear until it is done.
Whenever Carl gets hugged by the creepy dude, I hope that's advertiser friendly. When Carl gets hugged by the creepy dude, Rick rips the fucking throat out of that guy, I don't even remember his fucking name, by his mouth, like motherfucking I don't know, this shit was crazy. I'm not, damn. And then he like fucking stabs that fat fuck so many times, it's crazy. Like, I don't even know if I could show it on YouTube. You might just see a giant blurred screen, I don't fucking know. But it was one of my favorite scenes from the show because god damn, that shit was cool. When Rick kills the leader and the remnants at the church where Gabriel resides, he gets mixed reactions from the crowd. Maggie, Glenn, and I think a couple others are kind of appalled at how brutal he's being, as well as Abraham and Sasha and Michonne all joining him in brutalizing these very, very brutal and messed up people. When the tower outside Alexandria fell, forcing everyone to enter their homes, Rick and a few others decided to cover themselves in zombie guts and try to escape the house that they were in. However, one of the kids is a bumbling moron and tries to get his mom's attention, ends up getting bit, and then the mom gets bit. Long story short, Carl gets shot in the eye. After getting shot in the eye, Rick and Michonne and the others that were part of the chain link group of people run to help Carl get him into the infirmary. Afterwards, one of them turns on a light to perform surgery on Carl, but the light will attract walkers. Rick, hearing this in his dazed, confused state of pure rage, and in an attempt to help Carl, he goes outside and starts killing all the walkers he can that are accumulating around the infirmary house. actually, surprisingly enough, this rallies other survivors who are locked in their house to go around and start killing walkers in an attempt to fight for the land they have. I think this is personally the most badass moment for Rick. Not my favorite, but the most badass, and the reason why is because he rallies everyone else rather than it just being himself. When Rick's wife Lori first dies, Rick not only hallucinates seeing her, but also rejects the baby. And not only that, he hears phone calls from already dead characters calling him, telling him there's somewhere that they can live. After the prison attack, Rick notices Judith's empty and bloody cradle, and the reaction shared by him and Carl shows just how much sanity that is causing him to actively lose in that moment. How he sees despair and a sense of hopelessness in the world. When Negan asks Rick to cut off Carl's arm, Rick immediately backpedals on all of his morals and beliefs, immediately starting to beg for mercy, which is something he has never done in the show before, which shows not only a sign of weakness, but a sign of his mental state deteriorating. Not to mention, that same exact episode was titled "The Day Will Come When You Won't Be," which is exactly what Dr. What's-His-Face said to Rick after telling him thank you. In conclusion, Rick has shown that he will fight for what he believes in, fight for the people he believes in, fight for the people he loves, but overall can be a hazard to have on your team. Rick will show his empathy and care for you one minute, but he could go batshit insane the next minute and not talk to you, and then go on a walker killing spree, but then rally an entire town of people to also go on a walker killing spree until all the walkers are dead. I think as a leader, he's a very 50-50 guy. You know, he can make good decisions, he can make bad decisions, but am I really willing to risk my life on the flip of a coin? But as a traveling companion, let's say it's just you and him on the road, if you bond with him, like I imagine you would if you were stuck with someone, I feel like he would be an amazing partner to have. He'd be like Batman and Robin. He'd be like chlamydia and AIDS. He'd be like my right and left testicle, you know? Partners for life until one of your life is shortly ended by a very unfortunate bite from a dog or a person or a zombie or chlamydia. Yeah, I'm bringing that one back. So I think overall he's not a bad choice of companion on the road, but I don't think he should have been a leader. Just my opinion, of course. And hey, if you're still watching this right now, well, why haven't you subscribed yet? Like, you watched the whole video. I think I've earned it. Maybe. Please. Please. I'm begging you. Don't make me cut off my son's arm. I would for a subscription. I would do that for literally one subscriber. I would cut off my own arm for one sub. But yeah, thanks for watching if you made it this far. I really appreciate it. I put a lot of time and effort into this video, and I would love your feedback. So I'll see you in the next one. Peace.